So almost exactly a year ago now, I dropped out of a top 10 university in the world. That's the National University of Singapore. I was studying computer engineering there, and I was 3 years in to a 4-year degree. And I dropped out to start my own business and take control of my life in a way that almost doesn't make sense on the surface, right? And so I was studying to become a software engineer. I did a whole internship as a software engineer, worked about 7 to 8 months there, good pay, everything like that. I was set up to come out and, have the good high paying job in tech, graduating from a prestigious university, making the parents proud and whatnot, right? But I left all of that in a move that a lot of people didn't understand. And I have good reasoning for that, which I hope to impart to you in this video. Because I think that whoever you are and whatever you're doing, there's a good chance that you are postponing yourself in some strange way. You're somehow thinking that whatever you're doing now is just for now, but there's going to be a time where you can do what you really want to do, and that you're somehow going to arrive at that point in the future. And that maybe you haven't quite worked that out yet. But it's okay. It's okay, because you can just cruise for now. But I don't think you have time. And I don't think that anybody does. So I was following the beaten path, right? And what sort of ticked for me was a number of things. But one of them is that I realized that I want to create an exceptional life for myself, for my family, both current and future. And in order to do that, I need to do exceptional things. Right? You cannot do mediocre things and expect exceptional results. That's delusional. Right? And so I looked at myself and I looked at my life, and I thought, here I am doing these mediocre things, doing what I was told to do, wanting what I was told to want. I was letting the universe make decisions for me. And I mean the universe in the sense of society, your parents, whoever, authority figures in your life. I was letting those decisions of what I was going to do be made for me. Right? Carl Jung has a great quote, which is, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you." And so if you don't make decisions to take control of your own life and create the kind of life that you actually want, it's not going to magically fall in your lap. The universe will make those decisions for you, because they're going to happen either way. Right? It's either you at the helm, right? It's either you in the driver's seat with your hands on the steering wheel, or not, or you're in the passenger seat. But either way, those decisions are getting made. And so we often think of the cost of action and the cost of enacting some kind of change. Oh, like what if I drop out? Oh, that's painful, right? To think of that change. But we very rarely compute the cost of inaction and the pain of the alternative. What's the alternative if I don't do this? What happens then? What does my life look like then? And we don't really compute that, and we don't weigh them up. We don't weigh the scales up on both sides. We just go, change, pain, no thank you. Right? But we don't think of the pain of staying exactly where you are and on the exact path that you're on right now. And look, if you're doing exactly what you want to be doing and you're thrilled with that, then crack on, man. Seriously, crack on, and I'm fucking stoked that that's you. But I'm making this video because that's not a lot of people. Most people are not particularly thrilled about what they're doing with their life or the path that they're on. So I was working a software engineering internship, and I was working with some great people, some really good programmers, right? Really good engineers. And they were about 7 years older than me at the time. And so I was looking at the sort of life that they were living. I was paying very close attention to them. And bear in mind, I respect these guys, and I had a great time at that internship. And I think that they're really good people, right? And so I looked at the kind of life that, I was looking to them and I was seeing, okay, look, 7 years in the future, that could be me, right? If I really do well, that could be me, right? So let me see what they're about and what their kind of life is like, right? And just looking at that and paying attention to how every day was rock up to the office, have some small talk, write some code, write some programs, go home, play video games, come back to the office, repeat. And yeah, make some good money. But I looked at that and something in my brain just went, Chris, so like let's be real, right? These guys are really, really good programmers. I'm talking they graduated computing degrees from top universities, magna cum laude, dean's list, like you name it, right? Valedictorians, like they are really bright. And so I looked at myself and I went, okay, let's be real, bro, right? Like I'm decent at coding and software and being an engineer and programming, but I'm not fantastic at it. I'm gonna have to dedicate a lot more time to get a lot better if I want a shot at being near these guys, right? And so I thought, best case, Chris, if you really get your shit together with programming and you really make sacrifices and dedicate loads of time to become really good, best case, this is your life in 7 years. And something in my brain went off that said, no, you're meant to do something else. You're meant to do more than this. This isn't your gift to give to the world. Maybe it is for some people, but this is not your gift to give to the world. Because I happen to believe that everybody has a unique gift that they bring to the table, that they're meant to give to this world, right? That's just my belief system. And so there are some people who are meant to give the gifts of their computational ability and their engineering skills and programming. But I looked at it and I went, that's not me. And it's much more painfully clear to me now, right? And that's a sum that I was able to do in my head that I think I'm very grateful to be able to have gained that insight. But I don't think a lot of people are in a situation where they can even gain that insight because they're working jobs that, well, they don't really like, but they don't really hate either. And well, look, it's going to pay the bills and, it's going to make my parents proud of me, etc., etc. So like, let me just chug along with it. But then that goes back to the question, like, what kind of life do you want to have? If you're sitting there and thinking that you want to have an exceptional life, then how can you allow yourself to do mediocre things? Then you can ask, do you really want an exceptional life? Do you really want to be an exception? I've spent the last year and a half being an exception, and it's not fun, really. So why did I leave everything behind? It's not as though it's not as though I was, someone who, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, yeah, like the system I was never fitting into the system. Like I always did bad in school. Like that's not me. I did well in school. I was well entrenched in the system and successful inside of it. So why did I leave everything? Well, going back to what I said earlier, look, I was afraid of change, of course, right? But I was more afraid of the alternative. I was more afraid of what was going to happen to me if I just kept going down that path. The path that, frankly, I didn't even choose. I just let the world choose for me. All right? I just let people tell me, oh, well, look, Chris, look, you're good at mathematics. Yeah, you're good at physics. You're good at this. You know, oh, yeah, you should do something in computing. Yeah. You know, obviously, because that's a growing thing and it's tech and whatever, and it pays well, whatever. And I'm just sitting there going like, yeah, I guess I'll do that. Yeah, it'll be a waste if I don't. Right? Oh, I built up these skills in school, right? Like, it'll be a waste if I don't use them. So look, like, if you're gonna be afraid, at least be afraid of the right things. And if you're gonna weigh up the costs of doing something, you need to weigh them up on both ends. There's probably something about you and about what you want to do with your life that you're postponing. You might be postponing even figuring out what that thing is. Like, if I sat down with you and I asked you, like, what do you really care about? What really grinds your gears? What do you actually want to do while you're here? Like, you might be postponing even answering those questions to yourself. So why do we do this? I think that it's because it's easier to cope with the pain of not bringing about your full potential and doing what you actually want. It's easier to cope with that pain when you keep it cloudy and ambiguous. When you keep it in this cloudy, messy ball of inarticulate thoughts that you've never really taken the effort to string out into coherent sentences, it's easier to cope with the fact that you fall short of that every single day, right? And so we don't define parameters for failure so that we don't have to know when we're failing ourselves. We don't have to know when we're living far beneath our potential. But of course, the problem with that is that your ignorance of that does not mean that it's not still happening. Your ignorance of the events, right? It might be bliss for you, but it doesn't change the fact that those events are still happening. And so what I did was I detailed out exactly what my life was going to look like if I kept going where I was going. And I was so afraid of that. It made me more afraid than the fear of taking the risks of starting your own business and doing all of that. Right? So the pain of change was finally less than the pain of staying the same. And so I chose to change. And so everyone around me would ask me questions like, oh, gee, Chris, well, have you thought about what if it doesn't work out? Like, what if it doesn't work? What do you do then? And I didn't really know how to answer that question the first few times I was asked it because, well, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't. Because I'm sitting there going, no, it has to work. And I will make it work. And people will be like, well, what do you mean it has to work? What if it doesn't? I'm like, no, you don't understand. It has to work. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make it work. And as long as I don't quit, I can't fail. Like, as long as I never hang up the gloves, it's not possible for me to fail. Failure is an outcome, right? And it's an outcome that comes from taking an exit off of the highway, and then you put the nail in the coffin and you failed. Yeah, but that's still within your control, right? So failing is a process and failure is an outcome. Failing leads to success in the long run. Failure is an outcome. It's a full stop, right? And so I was of the mind that, look, as long as everything to me is a comma and never a full stop, then I've never failed. Like, I just keep going. As long as I don't quit, I don't fail, right? You either win or you learn. So look, I guess I'm making this video to say, stop postponing these things. You don't have time. Like, as of this recording, it's, there's all sorts of strange things going on in this world, man. Like, it's only going to get harder and harder for you to take control of your own life and where you actually want it to go. Like, this is not meant to be fear-mongering or something, but I genuinely think that it's only going to get harder. Your reliance on other people and on institutions and on corporations and on bureaucracies and all these things, authority, your reliance on all of those bodies is only going to increase with time. So the time for you to actually take charge of your life and figure out what you actually want to do and actually start making some progress on that, the time to do that is now. And if you're going to be afraid of the right things. Do you want to leave this earth knowing that you could have done more? Knowing that there are things still left on the table, things left unsaid, things left undone. Most people, I can't remember where I heard this, but most people on their deathbeds, their regrets, if they have any, more often than not, their regrets are things that they didn't do, rather than things that they did do. And so that's really something to think about. So think carefully about what it is that you actually want and what it is that you actually feel like you're meant to do here. And like, hey, easier said than done, 100%, right? These things take time to figure out. That doesn't mean that you get to avoid them. So I think that's all I wanted to say in this video. The only point I wanted to make is that you do not have time. Please don't sedate yourself with all of the distractions that this world has on offer. The countless distractions and sources of cheap dopamine that the world has to give to you right now to distract you from the fact that you are not living a life that you have created. You're living a life that has been assigned to you. So stop looking outside of yourself for answers to these questions, because that's probably what you've been doing this whole time. Asking your teachers, asking your parents, asking your friends, what should I do? Oh, what should I study? Oh, where should I work? Oh, people think this is good. People think that's good. Oh, this is prestigious. Okay. Oh, that's going to get me money. Like, stop looking outside and start looking inside. Carl Jung, again, has a good quote here, which is, "He who looks outside dreams, and he who looks inside awakes." So you're only going to find these answers inside of yourself. If you want to be confused and you want to end up making a wrong decision, just go and ask everybody. Go and ask everybody around you what you should do. That's the surest way to stay confused or to make a wrong decision. So look, if you want to have an exceptional life and you want to have whatever unique way you want to live and whatever gift you feel like you want to bring to the table of the world, you have to create that. You have to carve that path into the fabric of reality, because it is not just going to fall in your lap. So that's everything that I want to say. I hope this video served you. And if it did, then I'll see you in the next one. Peace.